Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh to all students and parents. So this is our online distance learning with me Abdul Kabir bin Rahmat from Faculty of Business Management and Malaysian Institute of Transport UITM. So stay at home, stay calm and keep on learning. Hi, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and welcome back to Operation Management OPM530 with me Dr. Kabir Abdul Kabir Rahmat. So how are you guys? Hope you guys are all doing good during this PKP and learning at your home or your college or wherever you are in a good position. And before we start, let's begin with Surah Al-Fatihah. Okay, now this will be the new chapter. So a bit recap on what we have done in the previous class. So previous class, basically we have actually gone through the chapter of managing quality. So within the managing quality, we have explored some of the important of quality. What is TQM? And some basic tools of total quality management, seven tools. And we have also gone through one session of creating our own fishbone diagram for various kind of problems. So definitely all TQM tools are actually applicable, or you can use it anywhere you are. And so this new chapter is actually entitled as location strategies. So basically, you can refer to page 377 in your textbook. Okay, now this is the outline of our topic today. First, we're going to look into the profile of a company named FedEx or Federal Express, and what is the strategic importance of location, factors that affect location decisions, methods and evaluating your location alternatives, service location strategy, and the use of geographic information system. And now let's look into the how FedEx are using location as their competitive advantage. So if you read through, you discover a few interesting stories. First of all, for example, that the founder or the CEO, which is Mr. Fred Smith, is actually he actually used to get C in his college paper, and he actually proposed a hub for small package delivery, and the idea has proven extremely successful. So he started with one central location in Memphis, Tennessee, and now it is called as the Super Hub. And the value of this firm is actually 45 billion US dollar, and has added a European hub in Paris, in Guangzhou, China, in Latin American hub in Miami, and also a Canadian hub in Toronto. So FedEx have a fleet of about 677 planes during this book it was authored, and flies to about 375 airports worldwide, and deliver not only from place to place but from door to door. And they actually have more than 80,000 vans and trucks all over the world. So the question is why Memphis are selected as their um, central location. First, because of its is actually located in the middle of United States. Secondly, is that it has a very few hours of bad weather closures, which actually contributing to the firm excellent flight safety records. And the third one is it provide FedEx with a generous tax incentives. So each night, except for Sunday, FedEx bring to Memphis packages from throughout the world that are going to cities for which FedEx does not have direct flights. And the central hub permits service to far greater number of points with fewer aircraft than the traditional City A to City B system. It also allows FedEx to match aircraft's flights with package loads each night and to reroute flights when load volume requires it, a major cost savings. And moreover, FedEx also believes that the central hub systems help reduce mishandling and delay in transit because there is a total control over the packages from pickup point through delivery. Okay, now let's look at our learning objective. So first, you should be able to identify and explain 7 major factors that affect location decision. The next is you should be able to compute labor productivity. 8.3, that you should be able to apply the factor rating method. 8.4 is complete a locational cost volume analysis graphically and mathematically. 8.5, you should be able to use the center of gravity method. And 8.6 is understand the differences between service and industrial sector location analysis. So basically, why is it important for people to decide their location is because of one of the most important decision for a firm to make. So as the world market continue to expand and the global nature of business is accelerating, one of the most important strategic decision made by many companies such as FedEx, Mercedes-Benz, and also Hard Rock, as we have seen through along our studies, that to locate their operation. So, for example, like when FedEx opened its Asian hub in Guangzhou, it set the stage for the round the world. So there are flights for around the world linking its Paris and Memphis package hubs to Asia. So when other example we have Mercedes-Benz, which have announced its plans to build its first major overseas plant in Vance, Alabama. So it completed a year of competition among 170 sites in 30 states and 2 countries. So when Hard Rock Cafe opened in Moscow, they actually ended 3 years of advanced preparation of a Russian food supply chain. And the strategic impact, cost, and international aspect of this decision indicate how significant the location decision are to companies. So firms throughout the world are using the concept of and technique of this chapter to address the location decision because location greatly affect both fixed and variable costs, and location has a major impact on the overall risk and profit of your company. For example, depending on the product and type of production of service taking place, transportation costs can total about more than 25% of your product selling. So that is 1/4 of the firm's total revenue, which is needed to just cover your logistics expenses. So other costs that may be influenced by your location will include taxes, wages, raw materials, rents. So when you consider all those costs, your location may alter your total operating expenses as much as 50%. So it's definitely a long-term decision to make, and once you have actually committed to your decision, you are not able to make a change or you cannot reverse back whatever you have decided. So the objective of location strategy is to make sure that you maximize the benefit of whatever the location that you have decided. That option include expanding your current facilities for small to bigger sizes and maintain existing and also add your new sites, and whether you are going to close or your of your existing or consider to relocation. Location and costs. So location decision requires, because once you have actually placed your facilities, any location related costs going to be fixed in place and you are not able to or difficult to make reduction in the costs. So efforts spent in determining optimal facility location is actually a good investment, because once you have or you made the right decision, or when you actually spend more time thinking about where you're going to locate, you can actually benefit from or it considered as a good investment. So factors that affect location decision: first, you will look into the globalization, the impact of globalization, the international businesses, and some other drivers of globalization, which include the market economics, the ability of communication, the culture. Next is the availability of your transportation system, and then the ease of capital flow, differing labor costs. So you need to identify your KSF or the key success factors. Okay, now for example in the location decision, so country decision, the country success factors are the component that you actually going to look is to first is the political risk, next is the government rules, the attitudes and the incentives which have been provided by the countries. The next key success factors is about the cultural and economic issues, location of the markets, and next is the labor talent attitudes, productivity costs, and the fifth key SF is the availability of supplies of your product or the raw materials, the communications facilities, and also the other utilities which include energy, sewerage. And the next thing you need to consider is the exchange rates and also the other risks such as currency exchange. Another location decision that you really need to consider is the region or community. Key success factors that you need to consider when you're talking about this at this level is the first, the corporate desires, attractiveness of region, labor availability and costs, Fourth is the costs and the availability of utilities. Fifth, environmental regulations. Six is the government incentive and fiscal policies. Seven is proximity to raw materials and customers. And eight is the land or construction costs. We look into the location decision, the site decision. So we're talking about the site size and cost. Second is the whether the connection or connectivity of the air, rail, highway, and waterway system, to what extent to our business need all these systems or connectivity. Third is the zoning restrictions. Is there any restriction or the zone between different zones? Fourth is the proximity of services or supplies needed. Fifth is the environmental impact issues. And six is the customer density and demographics. So at all these three different level of decision making for location, there are different components of key success factors that you need to consider, and of course you need to zoom in the requirement, the needs that your suits your companies. All right. Also, you need to actually go through some of the indexes which have been used internationally. For example, this competitiveness index of countries. So they actually have a setup of the competitiveness index for 137 selected countries. So the first one you see here is the Switzerland, second followed by United States, and the third one is our neighbor Singapore, fourth is Netherlands, fifth Germany, and the last one, if you can see, is Yemen. So meaning that in terms of locational and how to what extent do business have difficulties in doing or have opened up their business in these countries. So probably this competitiveness index can actually help business to make decision about their location. Next thing that you need to understand is the labor productivity. So rates are not the only cause, and definitely you look into the ability or the productivity of your labor, because lower productivity can actually increase your total cost. So in order to calculate your productivity, it's actually used by using this formula, which is labor cost per day divided by productivity or units that they can produce per day. So that is equivalent to the labor cost per unit. So in this example here, we can see between South Carolina and also Mexico. So for South Carolina, the labor cost per day is $70 per day, and the productivity is 60 units, which equal to $1.70 per unit. While in Mexico, each labor cost per day is $25, which is cheaper than South Carolina, but the output is 20 units, which equivalent to $1.25 per unit. So what does this mean? This means that the cost of South Carolina is much cheaper than the one in Mexico. So between South Carolina and Mexico, the cost will be in order for a company to make decision, definitely they go for South Carolina. The next is exchange rates and currency risks. So this is definitely will give a significant impact on costs, because rates actually change over time. So you want to go to company or country which actually have a more stabilized or non-fluctuating exchange rates over the time. And the next term, which is what we call as operational hedging. So operational hedging describes the situation where firms have excess capacity in multiple countries and then shift production levels from location to location when the exchange rate um, change. Okay, the next thing is costs. So we can actually divide location costs into two categories. First one is tangible and next one is intangible. So tangible costs are those costs that are readily identifiable and precisely measured. So they include utilities, labor, material, taxes, depreciation, and other costs that accounting department and management can identify. In addition, such costs as transportation of raw materials, transportation of finished goods, and site construction are all factored into the overall cost of location. Intangible costs are less easily quantified, so they include quality of education, public transportation facilities, community attitudes toward the industry and the company, and quality and attitude of prospective employees. They also include quality of life variables such as climate and sports teams, and they may influence personnel recruiting. So location decision based on costs alone can create a much more difficult in ethical situation. So now let's look into the political risk, values, and culture. So the political risk associated with national, state, and local government attitudes toward private and intellectual property, zoning, pollution, and employment stability may be in flux. So governmental positions at the time of a location decision is made may not be lasting ones. However, management may find that these attitudes can be influenced by the own leadership. Worker values may also differ from country to country, region to region, and small town to city. Worker views regarding turnover, unions, and absenteeism are all relevant factors. So, in turn, these values can affect a company's decision whether to make offers to current workers if the firm relocates to a new location. One of the greatest challenges in global operation decision is dealing with another country's culture. So cultural variations in punctuality by employees and suppliers make a marked difference in production and delivery schedules. So bribery and other forms of corruption also create substantial economic inefficiency as well as ethical and legal problems in the global arena. As a result, operation managers may face significant challenges when building effective supply chains across different cultures. As you can see within this ranking corruption, there are different countries with different way of how they deal with or the index of their corruption. The next factors that affect location decision is proximity to markets. So for many firms, locating near customer is extremely important to them, particularly service organizations like a drugstore or pharmacy, restaurants, post office, or barbers, which find that the demographic and proximity to market are the primary location factors. So manufacturing firms find it useful to be close to customers when transporting finished goods is expensive or difficult. To be near US markets, foreign-owned auto giants such as Mercedes, Honda, Toyota, and Hyundai are building millions of cars each year in the US alone. So the next thing is the proximity to suppliers. So firms locate near their raw materials and suppliers because of the perishability. Next is proximity to competitors or what we known as clustering. Clustering, yeah. So both manufacturing and service organizations also like to locate which is somehow surprisingly near their competitors. So this tendency is what we call as clustering as you see in Malaysia. Most of bila ada orang buka kedai kedai goreng pisang, area tu semua orang jual goreng pisang. Bila jual nasi lemak, sarapan pagi semua orang jual nasi lemak. That is not basically a bad one or bad examples. That is actually what we call as clustering. Why? Because once we have a clustered area, meaning that that place may actually be a center for people to identify the similar things lah. Macam kata pagi nak cari sarapan, nak cari nasi lemak, dah tahu dah port ni banyak nasi lemak. So that it actually can be one of the advantage of clustering or when you want to compete, you actually being close to your competitors as well. Within the larger company point of view, so this clustering often occurs when major resources is found in that region. So that's include the natural resources, information resources, venture capital resources, and the talent resources. So now we look into the table 8.3, the clustering of companies, for example, wine making in US and Bordeaux region in France. So these two locations actually there are lots of companies which is within the winemaking uh, located at these two locations lah. The reason is because of the natural resources of land and climate. And the next example is software firms. So we have locations such which is known as the Silicon Valley, Boston, Bangalore, and also Israel. So these all these four locations are well known for software firms. So why? Because of they have much more talent resources of graduates and within the scientific and technical areas. And also there are also a lot of businessmen or the venture capitalists nearby. Okay, next example we have the clean energy, which is located in Colorado, where critical mass of talent and information are available there, and there are about 1,000 companies. Another clustering examples we have is the theme parks, for example, Disney World, Universal Studios, and SeaWorld, which is located in locations such as Orlando and Florida. So the reason is this is actually the hotspot for the entertainment. They have a very good weather, which is warm, and there's a lot of tourist activities there, and also they claim to be inexpensive labor. The next industry we can look into the clustering is the electronic firms, for example, Sony, IBM, HP, Motorola, and Panasonic. So they are actually clustered in areas such as in the northern Mexico, and one of the reason is due to the some of the free tax area such as NAFTA. So duty-free export to United States, where 20% of all the TVs are built there. So for example, or the reason or the clustering is the NAFTA, and that is actually where the duty-free export to the US. So about 24% of all TVs in the world are actually um, built there. So the next industry we have is the computer hardware manufacturers. Location include in Singapore and Taiwan. So the reason for clustering is the high technological penetration rate and per capita GDP. So there are also a lot of skilled, educated workforce with large pool of engineers. The next example of clustering companies is the fast food chain such as Wendy's, McDonald's, Burger King, Pizza Hut. So usually we look at there are sites within 1 mile of each other. So one of the reason is to stimulate food sales within those areas, and also because of the high traffic flows. The next industry is the general aviation aircraft. For example, Cessna, Learjet, Boeing, and Raytheon. So they are actually located in two areas, which is Wichita and Kansas. So the reason for clustering is the mass of aviation skills, where 60 to 70% of world's small planes jets are built over there. And the next industry is the athletic footwear or the outdoor wear, which is located in Portland and Oregon. The reason for clustering is actually there are 300 companies, and most of them are actually owned by Nike, and there are also deep talent pool, and there are also a very mass outdoor culture community over there.